Okay, so this video is going to show a map that I often draw out for parents, and it does change, and obviously it changes very quickly as well as technologies change, but hopefully it will give you some idea of how I think about and how I think is a good way to think about the technology industry if you're learning the skills and progressing into understanding skill sets that are actually usable in the market. So what I say is that there's a few entry points, but over here is a great entry point is Scratch, which I'm writing on a touchpad, so you must forgive my spelling. Now Scratch is good for probably, to my mind, 7 to 13-year-olds. If that, 7 to 12-year-olds, if they're interested in learning basic principles. And if I put that in a box here, and what happens is that very quickly, if they've got any aptitude, you want to move them into the web development sphere, which is over here. So I'll just put WebD. And as part of that, the very first thing, there's a triumvirate. There's a triangle of skill sets. So you have HTML. And you have, that's basically the challenge there is to learn a web page. And then you have two things. You have CSS and JavaScript, which is JS. So this is a triangle of web development here. And you start with HTML, and then you kind of pull in these two other aspects quite quickly, and you can start learning those in your own right as well, but you need the HTML to start. Now that as a package, I think, is a great entry point into learning true programming skills. So if stuff progresses into here quite quickly, then that's easy. This basically builds a web page, right? If you can get the skill down of building a web page, there's a number of things that come out of that. You can build web pages for your business or your charity or your family's company if you're a kid, or I've seen kids build them for their recipes that they're making, Ruth's recipes online, this sort of thing. Now at the same time with this, we've got a thing going on over here. If I move this over here, we've got true computer science skills going on over here, and this is a stream of timeless principles such as variables, such as recursion, functions, memory allocation, fundamentals of how a computer actually works at its basics level. How different layers of architecture sit on top of each other, compilers, what they are exactly. So these are things that you kind of pick up as you go along, as you're learning these sort of skills in the real world. You often pick these things up. Now, if you go to university, you learn this in a step-by-step process. So this is something I think that needs to be in the curriculum, and is quite dry in many ways. But when you're seeing the real fun out in the real world, you have an urge to learn this stuff because it helps you to apply this stuff out in the real world. So I think that's something that needs to be discussed and related to, but not necessarily something that can be taught in the scope of a live Coder Dojo session or Allison or whatever else content online that we're talking about, that needs to be quite dynamic, changing over time. Now in between this and this over here, we've got what I call is the actual skills of learning the currently live languages, whatever languages are in fashion. At the moment, Python is quite fashionable, and Node.js, and so that is you can enter straight into there. You can learn C++, you can learn Python, you can learn Ruby. So let's just type some of these down. Actually, I'll pause it while I type. So as you can see here, I've put true programming, and this true programming section here is very slow and tedious if you don't have a passion for it. I mean, there's so much effort that's required to develop even the simplest application in something like Java, that you have to be really interested. And so this is why a lot of kids don't really start here. But for the ones that get the feel for it, that are really interested, then this is where they can start. And there's so many resources online to start learning this stuff. I mean, you've got all the Coursera's and Udacity, and you've got all of these sort of things. So to my mind, the other way in. So if you've got your kid here, I think that he can start either by going into Scratch, or going to the HTML and front end web development, or if he's that way inclined, he can start the true programming. But progression is that once they've done the web development, in my mind, the next step is to learn the server side. So if we go for server stuff, right, and in that process you learn how to handle a server account, how to actually set one up. There's loads of ways to do it for free. How to do languages such as PHP. So there's a crossover here where a lot of this stuff is brought into the server-side stuff. You learn how to transfer files maybe through FTP. You learn about servers themselves and things like Ajax. How a server actually runs with Apache and this sort of thing. So then over here we have phone. To my mind, you can jump into, say, phone native apps such as iPhone and Android. So if I put native down here, now to do the native you might need something like Objective-C, of course, which you can do straight away. But the option is that you could actually PhoneGap into the native applications here, and you could actually, if I put PhoneGap, you can actually convert a website using PhoneGap into a native application. And you can also, this is an entry point, you can also use developed systems that are similar to Scratch, things like GameSalad, and what's the other one? App Inventor, right? So this is how Harry Moran made his game that sold more copies than any other game on the App Store for 3 weeks, was through GameSalad. So that's another entry point. So there's a few different entry points, but there's also dependencies in here if you want to really get good at stuff. Okay. So the final thing I would say is that if you're learning server-side stuff, then something that you might want to learn at this point, then, if you're doing this stuff, is stuff like the Unix command line, or the command, or basically command terminals. So you might learn, and the reason for that is because you might want to use like GitHub or something like this. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that's useful to know once you get to this stage and even before. But it's not really useful until you get here. So I put all of these in here in a box. And the other thing that will come to my mind is databases. Once you've got to this stage, you can then do SQL and various languages, and then connect into databases. So this is databases here. So I think that is all of the basic skill set progression that I have identified myself over the last databases over the last few years, as how kids can actually progress and actually get some use out of the world, because each of these progressions creates a new opportunity to produce something interesting in the world. So you can start with your website, you can then turn it into a web app, you can convert it into a native application on the phone, you can add a database and create an interactive system that holds data about a person, you can then share that code using Unix with other people, and you can, at the same time, you can dive in to other various languages, producing desktop applications. In fact, I could put that down here. I mean, you can go into desktop applications down here, and then I think that's probably the 90% of what the innovative type of applications that are happening today are probably either on the web or a desktop application of some kind that's been developed from scratch, or I should say from the fundamentals of a true programming language. So that's my map, and I hope it's useful. I'm going to put this up on the site, and I'm going to put this video with it, and I hope that people watching this find some use. Parents, collaborative partners and other people that are looking at how do these skills progress. And this is how I think about it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'd love you to leave a comment below this and have some discussion. Speak to you soon. Bye.